Um, ang aga nyo naman magbigay ng assignment. Bukas pa yan eh. Hindi pa nga ako tapos mag-check ng ibang assignments nyo eh. Ang aga nyo mag-submit. Okay, so to begin with, I'll show you the academic calendar, no? If you'll notice here in the academic calendar, ayaw ko kung nakikita nyo, ang midterms ay October 24 to 26. Ngunit ang pagkakaintindi ko to, ito yung mga regular classes nyo, no? So, tulad ng prelims, i-schedule natin yung midterms natin. Pwedeng before, kung gusto nyo, pwedeng after. Pag-usapan natin. Para hindi naman kayo agrabyado sa inyong mga ibang klase. So, kung makikita nyo, right on time tayo, no? Even before then, we have 16 plus 7, 23, one class period remaining, not counting Sundays, ano? So siguro ibibigay ko na yung Sunday para makapag-aral kayo sa aking klase at sa inyong ibang mga klase para hindi naman kayo masyadong harassed, ano? Sa inyong pag-aaral. Ang aking tatalakay ngayong araw na to ay huling bahagi na ng ating nakaalay na mga pag-aaralan bagong midterms. Ano itong topic na ating pinag-aaralan? Extinguishment of payment. So, nandun pa rin tayo sa extinguishment of payment. Ano? Natapos na natin yung iba, iniwan ko yung mga iba ay mga natitirang topics dahil ito yung medyo kailangan pag-aralan ng mabuti. The remaining topics in our assignment before the midterms are consignation. Nakapasa na ako ng bar exams. I've been practicing. Everybody pronounces it in the Philippines as consignation. I only learned Americans pronounce it as consignation today. The consignation, tender payment, loss of the thing, and novation. As I think those are the topics that are left for us. I will try to finish as much as I can today, but I want to end the session early because I have other things to do. So even if we do not finish the topics that I mentioned today, we have more than enough time. Ano? So kaya balak ko, pag natapos na tayo sa consignation, sa novation, kasi novation talaga medyo mahirap intindihan yan. Siguro we'll give some time for question and answer or something like that, or review session. Kasi kahapon tinitingnan ko yung ating range of topics, ano, mula nung prelims hanggang ngayon. Talagang nakakahilo. Ako, abogado ako, nahihilo ako. Kayo pa kaya? Pinag-aralan ko na to. Pinag-aralan ko ilang beses to. Una, pinag-aralan ko bilang estudyante sa College of Law. Pangalawa, bilang reviewee sa review para sa bar exams. Pangatlo, tuwing meron akong kaso, nag-aaral ako uli. Okay? Ngunit talaga, up till today, aminin ko sa inyo, I did not know that it was pronounced by the Americans as consignation. All my professors, all went to Harvard and Yale, pronounced it consignation. Anyway, I hope it's not a brownout. We've been having brownouts lately. Kung mag-brownout tayo, okay lang ha. Free day kayo. Mayroon pa naman tayong isa pang session. Kaya natin to. So today is 15 plus 7 is 22. So that's before the midterm. So we're okay, ladies and gentlemen. Ha? Okay, so ito ang aking lecture notes. I will provide you the lecture notes as usual. Once it becomes important. Okay. Ang una nating pag-usapan ngayon, itong letter A sa aking lecture notes. Yung animal farm kasi, talagang binigyan ko kayo ng mahabang panahon para makabasa. Dahil alam ko magbabasa kayo ng libro. At alam ko na ang isasagot nyo sa akin, ang itatanong ko sa inyo at ang isasagot nyo sa akin ay hindi nyo magugugol. Hindi nyo mahanap yan sa Google. O kung mahanap nyo, hindi yan angkop doon sa aking tinatanong. So, that's why I gave you enough time to read it and understand the story. The story is very simple. Like I told you, it's a farce. No? It's an allegorical farce. And I'd like to repeat again, the reason why I gave you this reading, it has nothing to do with obligations and contracts. It has to do with our duties as prospective graduates of a state university. Pag tayo meron nakagraduate na at kung tayo ay nakapasa na sa board exams at tayo sertipikado na, huwag tayong kampante. Hindi pa tapos ang ating pag-aaral. Dapat nating ipakita sa mundo, dapat nating ipakita sa ating lipunan, sa ating bayan, na bukod sa tayo ay CPA, tayo ay professional, tayo rin ay intellectual. Tayo ay nag-iisip. We possess the talent of critical thinking. Critical thinking is not only about your profession, although that is expected of you. You have to be able to analyze deeply the aspects of your profession. Accounting, application of business procedures and business rules, including Oblicon, which I am teaching. And if you are my students next year, credit transactions or maybe business organizations. But beyond that, we are carrying the name of our institution. We are carrying our name, yung pangalan na nakalagay doon sa diploma. At nakakahiya naman na kung magko-comment tayo sa Facebook o kung magsasalita tayo sa isang salo-salo o tayo pinasalita sa publiko, ang ating sinasabi tungkol sa mga nangyayari sa ating bayan, ang nangyayari sa current events, siyempre tatanungin tayo kasi may professional tayo may natapos tayo, tatanungin tayo, dapat maganda naman yung sagot natin. Hindi ko sinasabi sa inyo kung ano ang dapat yung isagot. Kasi hindi ko pa alam yung tanong. Di ba? Hindi ko sinasabi sa inyo ano dapat yung isagot. Hindi ko sinasabing dapat yung isagot anti-government. Hindi ko sinasabing dapat yung isagot pro-government. Kasi ang pagiging anti-government, ang pagiging pro-government, depende yan kung ano yung pinag-uusapan. Dahil ang gobyerno, hindi laging tama at ang gobyerno, hindi laging mali. Di ba? Kung ang gobyerno ay mali, dapat nating itama. Bakit natin yung itatama? Dahil tayo ay mamamayan. Pangalawa, dahil tayo ay intellectual. We are professionals possessed of critical thinking. And because many of our countrymen do not have the privilege of going to URS, do not have the privilege of studying for free in a government university, especially a government university that is renowned, that has a reputation to protect. Because our countrymen are not all necessarily intellectuals like us. It is our duty as intellectuals to guide them, not to tell them what to do. Kasi alam mo ang tao, kahit gaano kasimple, makikita nyo to. Pumunta kayo sa palengke, pumunta kayo sa barberia o sa beauty parlor. Usapin nyo yung mga tao ron. Alam niyo yung simpleng tao, nakakaintindi yan. Ang kulang lang, hindi sila napapaliwanagan. Kaya nakita niyo yung ating assignment. disinformation, misinformation, malinformation. Yan ang sakit natin ngayon. Kaya tayo bumoboto ng mali o kaya tayo bumoboto ng tama. Kaya tayo naghihirap o kaya tayo ay nagtatagumpay bilang isang lipunan. Nothing drives me crazier than for people to express an opinion which is not founded on facts and is not well organized. You, my students, I will impose the duty. Henceforth, having read Animal Farm, and having some of you even having submitted already the assignment, I impose on you the duty to exercise critical thinking, such that whenever you express an opinion, it is founded on facts and is composed, expressed logically. Okay? Huwag tayong maniwala na hindi na importante ang intelektual. Hindi tayo elitista pag tayo intelektual. Although elitista tayo, we are elites. You and I, my friends, are elites. By the mere fact that we are admitted into our universities. How many people get into university? Sa URS, I'm sure not even 10%. Sa UP, not even 10% of the applicants make it to UP. The same with URS. The same, I think, with any other state university. Because it is free. And when it is free, the universities can choose the best of the best as their students. And I see that in you. Huh? The only exception is I'm not too happy with the exams. So, as a side note also, kasama yun sa third item, mea culpa. Mea culpa is Latin for my fault. Hindi ko pa natapos check lahat ng mga works niya. Exams at check assignments. So, give me more time. But so far, I'm not happy with the exams. I'm thinking if maybe you're having a substitute activity. Hindi ko pa naman report yung grade. Sanay na naman si Dina, hindi nagre-report ako ng grades sa end of the sem. Kasi adjust ko yan. I don't want to fail people. And yung ating prelims, I think I gave too short a time for you to answer it. Sa takot ko kasi na magdi-discord kayo. Alam ko na yan, tinuro yan na aking pamangkin after last sem. Nagdi-discord na yung mga sila, nagko-compare ng answers sa exams. So, in case you're not doing it, I am already telling you I know about it. So, in my fear that you will be trying to, I'll have to use the term, cheat on your exams, I made the exam period too short. The answers are not, I'm not too happy. Even with the good students, I'm not too happy. I think people could have done better. So, right now, really, I'm searching my conscience. I'm searching my time that I have available to make an alternative activity. So makikita ko dito sa Animal Farm assignment natin kung gaano kayo kagaling sa ganyang klaseng pagtatrabaho. Yung electronic, video, tapos you make an analysis. Kasi alam nyo, sa suma total, although sinasabi ko sa inyo, pag pinag-aaralan natin ng Oblicon, pag nag-aaral kayo ng business law, kailangan sundan nyo yung civil code, kailangan sundan yung insurance code, corporation code, negotiable instruments law, kung ano man yung tinatalakay, dahil hindi nyo maiintindihan ng batas kung hindi nyo babasahin yung batas. Talaga, walang lusot yan. Kaya nga, business law is very boring. But, having said that, I see that a lot of you, I know that a lot of you, because from last time, my students were very good in video presentations. I'm sure you're also good at that. And I look forward to seeing your assignments. Okay, so natapos na natin yung course syllabus. We're on course. Natapos ko na rin yung mea culpa. Give me more time. I will submit. And I'll tell you the results in a timely manner. So, we are in tender of payment and consignation. Civil Code Articles 1258 to 1261. Where are we again, ladies and gentlemen? We are at extinguishment of payment. And one way to extinguishment of obligation, and one way to extinguish an obligation is through tender of payment together with, hindi and or, together with consignation. So you look at my notes here. Sorry, I'm managing between two screens. Tender of payment must be accompanied by judicial consignation and proper notice of consignation as stated in a line of Supreme Court cases. I will not bore you anymore with what these cases say. Okay? By the way, for those of you who will pursue law, and I do encourage those of you who are adept in this course and who have the ambition to become lawyers to take up law, because like I told you, CPA lawyer is the best combination. It's money in the bank. My classmates who were and are CPA lawyers are doing very well. But you cannot practice you cannot practice accounting and law at the same time. Huh? You have to have different, sa legal ethics yan, bawal yan. Okay. I just want you to note itong notation ito dito. Ito. Nakita niyo yan? Miss Sebastian, you missed the answer code for the next exam by being late. Okay. I missed the, okay, wala yung con. Itong notation na to is the notation we use for citing Supreme Court cases. Ganito kasi ang sistema ng batas sa Pilipinas. The law in the Philippines is composed of the following, no? The laws which are created by Congress, the Constitution is a law, and the laws made by laws made by Congress and laws made by the sanggunian. Maraming sanggunian yan. Sanggunian ng probinsya, sanggunian ng lungsod, sanggunian ng munisipalidad. Meron yung sanggunian ng barangay. Diba? So all of those create laws. And Supreme Court cases. Only the Supreme Court cases are law. The decisions of the Court of Appeals, the lower courts, Court of Appeals, regional trial courts, metropolitan municipal trial courts, and all other courts at Sandigan Bayan, Court of Tax Appeals, all of the other courts and bodies with pseudo-judicial powers, quasi-judicial powers, those are not laws of the land. They only apply to the case which they are being referred to. So halimbawa, meron tayong kaso. Anore versus tingnan natin ng huli mo. Anore versus Tayag. Civil case for breach of contract. So saan yan dadalhin? Dahil maliit na halaga at nasa binungan ka na yung municipal trial court. Kasi hindi naman kayo city. So, kung natalo, isa or both of them may appeal to the regional trial court. May decision uli yan. Pag hindi pa rin masaya, pwede kayo mag-appeal, Court of Appeals. Yang municipal trial court, regional trial court, Court of Appeals, each one of those has a decision. But the decision in that is not a law of the land. It does not apply to everybody in the Philippines. It only applies to the parties involved in that particular case. That's what we call the law of the case. It becomes law of the land when it reaches the Supreme Court pronounces a decision. Only the decisions of the Supreme Court form part of the law of the land. And why is this? Because under the Constitution, the Supreme Court has the duty to interpret laws and interpret the Constitution. It is the ultimate interpreter of the law. In other words, kahit anong sabihin ng municipal trial court, metropolitan trial court, regional trial court, Court of Appeals, whatever they, or Court of Tax Appeals, or Sandigan Bayan, whatever they say, it's only the Supreme Court who says what is the final interpretation of the law as applied in that case. So we're talking about a specific case with specific people, but the doctrine in that case becomes applicable to everybody. So, if you look at again, yung pinapakita ko sa inyo kanina, this notation shows the title of the case. Yun yung nakapink. The actual title of the case is longer because the Supreme decisions are written with the full name of the parties and all of the parties. Ano, hindi sinasabing et al. Ang ginagawa namin mga abogado, we just shorten it because there's no need to nobody's interested in their first names. Diba? So, ganyan lang yan. The next is the GR number. And the GR number is a case number assigned by the Supreme Court to every case which it accepts. Ganito kasi system sa Supreme Court. The Supreme Court does not accept all cases. Ano? Hindi naman pwede natalo ka sa Court of Appeals, automatic i-review yan ng Supreme Court. You have to prove to the Supreme Court that your case is worthy of being studied. In other words, if the Supreme Court studies your case, natalo ka sa Court of Appeals, you go to bring it up to the Supreme Court, you are bringing up an issue which is novel, which is new, and will add to the jurisprudence. Diba? Hindi, sa totohanan lang, the Supreme Court is not very strict. The Philippine Supreme Court is not so strict. It takes too many cases. Unlike the US Supreme Court, which is very choosy. The US Supreme Court every year only really tackles about marami ng 100 kaso. And most of these cases are not really major cases. So, for example, 2021, the way I see it, probably only 50 were important cases in the US Supreme Court. But what is the backlog in the Philippine Supreme Court? 10,000 cases. Each justice in the Supreme Court has a caseload of about 2,000 cases, 1,000 cases. Can you imagine how will they study that? Each one is supposed to be novel and new, di ba? So yun ang problema. So that's the GR number. And then of course the date when the decision is promulgated. And why do we follow this annotation? Because it's easy to find. You can Google it. We used to have what is called SCRA. It's a series of books na ganito karami. By this time siguro 500 na sila. Maybe more. Oh, more. 1,000 na rin siguro. Kasi wala na kasi bumibili ng SCRA ngayon because of the internet. Sa SCRA, it's written down in paper and you can cite the page number. Ngayon, wala na. You cannot, wala nang page number sa Supreme Court decision because it's electronic. And the page number, like you pointed out to me in doing our assignment, the page number varies depending on the way that the text is presented in your instrument. Except for PDF, by the way. Okay. So this is the teaching of the Supreme Court. Extinguishment of obligation, one of the ways you can extinguish an obligation is by tender of payment and consignation. And what does this mean? Ito si Mr. Tayag. He owes Mr. Talanay 10,000 pesos. Rent sa apartment. Si Mr. Talanay yung may-ari ng apartment. Gusto ni Mr. Talanay na umalis na lang si Mr. Tayag para mataasan niya yung rent. Kasi nalilitat siya sa 10,000 kasi doon sa karatig buok nila yung mga ibang apartment na pareho sa kanya, sa apartment ni Mr. Talanay, ay 15,000. So nagabot si Mr. Tayag, ito ang bayad ko para October, 10,000. Ayaw tanggapin ng Mr. Talanay kasi yun nga ang kanyang pakay. Diba? What do you do, Mr. Talanay? Are you with us?
Hello po sir, ano po ulit?
Babayad ka ng upa, ayaw tanggapin ni... ikaw palang nagpapaupa. Anong dapat gawin ni Mr. Tayag kung ayaw mong tanggapin yung upa niya? Ilalagay niya ba sa ilalim ng pintuan mo? Bibigyan niya sa anak mo? I-staple yung sa pintuan ng bahay mo? Anong dapat niyang gawin?
Sir, sa tingin ko po, dapat niyang ma-reach or maabot yung parang kagustuhan ko na yung para sa bayad niya.
Oh, ngayon yun nga eh. Inaabot niyo na yung 10,000 eh. Yun naman pinag-usapan yung upa. Ikaw lang may gusto ng 15,000. Ngayon ang kontrata niyo ngayon ay 10,000. So, kaso ayaw mong tanggapin. Anong dapat gawin ni Mr. Tayag? Mr. Tayag, palagay mo? Mr. Tayag?
Sir,
Ano
hindi
dapat
po
mong
ako
gawin?
masyadong,
Ayaw niyong tanggapin eh.
hindi po ako masyadong sure sa
Oo, sige lang.
pagsalis.
Ano? I didn't get that, Mr. Tayag. Are you having fun?
Wala po akong idea, sir.
Okay. You want to? Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. You cannot have no idea because the article is there, no? So all you have to do is look at the civil code. It's there in my lecture notes. We're on tender payment, letter B, ah? Okay. Ms. Gaspar, please save us.
Pwede po niya ipakita yung kontrata na ayun po yung pinirmahan nilang kontrata. Na 10K lang po talaga.
Isiraduhan nga si Mr. Tayag ng pintuan. This is when we apply this article, ano? Pag ayaw tanggapin yung binabayad nyo at kayo yung may utang, hindi ibig sabihin na absuelto na kayo. Ano? And this is the funny thing. This is the crazy thing about this provision of law. Itong tender of payment. The law requires you as the debtor to make a tender of payment. What does that mean? Ito ho ang bayad ko. Mr. Lessor, ito ang bayad ko. 10,000 pesos. Ayaw yung tanggapin, kunin nyo sa korte. Consignation means, judicial consignation means, you file a case in court. You file a case in court. So if you read the articles, sorry, my glasses fell. And this is why my comment is like this. You have to, consignation means, so yun yung 10,000 pesos mo, kukuha ka ngayon ng abogado, pa-file ka ng petition sa korte, entitled consignation. I-deposito mo yung 10,000 pesos. Ang mahirap dyan, may fee yan eh. Wala naman libre sa korte. May fee yan kahit maliit. Actually, hindi masyado maliit kung tutuusin because ikaw na nga yung gusto magbayad, ikaw pa yung gagastos pa kasi kukuha ka ng abogado, magbabayad ka sa korte ng fee nila para mag-consignate sa korte at doon kukunin ng inyong creditor yung bayad. So ganito mangyari niyan. Ma-file kayo ng complaint. Siyempre, padadala ng notice yung kabila. Sasabihin, kunin mo tong pera na binigay ni Juan, ni Miss Gaspar. 10,000 pesos bilang kabayaran sa utang. You have 30 days to get this from the court. Tapos ikaw, according to this mode of extinguishment of payment, ikaw, nag-file ka na ng kaso, magbibigay ka pa ng notice doon sa pinagkakautangan mo that you have consignated the money in court. It's at this branch, at this city or town, and that here is the order of consignation, and that you have so many days to get it. Why do you do this? Because after the lapse of time that the creditor does not get the money that you already consignated to the court, absuelto ka na. So, let's go back to my comment here. Isn't this just the same as refusing payment? Diba? Halimbawa, ang pinag-uusapan natin ay hindi kontrata. Wala lang, utang lang sa kaibigan, ano? Magkabarkada kayo, magkapitbahay kayo. Mutang ka ng 50 pesos. Si kapitbahay, nagpahiram ng 50 pesos, sinabi niya, bayaran mo ako pagkatapos isang linggo kasi kailangan ko yan. Pagkatapos isang linggo, eto na yung, eto ka na. Punta ka na sa kapitbahay mo, katok. Babayad daw ako ng 50 pesos. Sabi niya, within 1 week. Ito na ho. Mainit ang ulo ni kapitbahay. Nag-away sila ni misis o nag-away sila ng girlfriend, boyfriend niya. Ayaw ko kausapin. Kaya balikan na lang. Hindi ba sa ating common sense, kung ayaw niyang tanggapin, sorry ka na lang, di ba? Sorry ka na lang. Tapos na usapan natin. Nandito ako, naambulan pa ako, kinakahulan ako ng mga aso mo. Tapos ayaw mo pagtanggapin yung bayad ko, 50 pesos lang. I ask you, ladies and gentlemen, magko-consignation pa ba kayo? Magfa-file pa kayo ng complaint sa korte? Tapos padadala ng notice yung kapitbahay mo that, nandito sa korte yung 50 pesos mo, kunin mo. Tapos within 30 days, hindi kinuha ng creditor, di ba? Yung bayad mo, sasabihin ng judge, sige, absuelto ko na, tapos na yung obligasyon. Kunin mo balik yung pera mo. Di ba? Nakatipid ka 50 pesos, kumuha ka ng abogado, magkano abogado? 20,000 pesos siguro. para kalokohan na itong provision na to eh. But it's there. And if you look at the cases, yan, uli, pinapakita ko sa inyo. Talagang kailangan ng consignation. Tender of payment is not sufficient. It has to be accompanied by a valid consignation and a notice that the money is already in court, properly consignated. Yan ang problema. The only exception is this case of Spouses Cinco versus Court of Appeals. Because here, consignation is impossible because they were dealing with the bank. Ang gagawin ng bangko, i-apply application payments nila. Yun ang mahirap. So sinabi ng Supreme Court, in this specific case, consignation is not necessary. But anyway, invalid tender of payment is enough. So please, read the provisions on when is consignation proper. I would just want to emphasize one special example. Two actually. Okay? And this applies to me. Kami ng magkakapatid ko, we are co-owners of apartments, you know. And halimbawa lang, hindi naman nangyayari yan. My siblings and I get along well in the management. But suppose nag-aaway kami. Di ba? Kanya-kanya kami. So, si Utol pupunta sa isang tenant, sabihin niya sa kanya, bayad ka sa akin. Akin na yung upa mo. Tapos ako pupunta rin sa kanya, hindi, huwag ka magbayad sa kanya. Nag-aaway kami. Magbayad ka sa akin. Bayad mo sa akin yung upa mo. Anong gagawin ng tenant? Hindi niya alam kung sino babayaran niya eh. Di ba? Kung magbayad siya sa Utol, valid payment niya kasi co-owner siya. Kung magbayad siya sa akin, valid payment niya kasi co-owner din ako. Ang problema, magagalit yung hindi binayaran sa kanya, di ba? Magagalit kung magbayad sa akin, magagalit si Utol. Sabihin niya, bakit nagbayad sa kuya ko eh? Lukulo yun. Di ba? Ganon. So, this is a proper case for consignation. Actually, very simple yan eh. You pay to the person who's going to give a valid receipt. Ang problema dyan, there could be two parties that can give a valid receipt. Diba? Yun ang mahirap dyan. When does that happen? Itong second case. Alam niyo yung Okada? Yung mga casino, I don't like going to casinos. I have relatives who love to go to casinos. I've only been to casinos maybe in my entire life, maybe half a dozen times. I find it distasteful. It's a waste of time. But if you go to the casino, it's you get free drinks because libre yun kasi they expect you to spend money gambling. The only time I went to the casino where I enjoyed it and I really look forward to it was when I watched Phantom of the Opera because they were playing in their auditorium. Itong Okada Casino, ewan ko na balitaan niyo sa news. Miss Garovillas, why did you leave us? Pinagkakaawayan niya ng dalawang partido. Okada is, I think his name is Kazuo. Okada or Masuo. He's a big-time operator of gambling casinos worldwide. He's a Japanese. Kung siya, kilala siya, para siyang si Trump. Di ba si Trump doon nag-operate ng casinos sa Atlantic City in the United States. Trump is the only casino operator I know who went bankrupt. Everybody else is making money. Yan tulad sa Las Vegas, puro casinos yan, di ba? Las Vegas is the last place in the United States I'd go to. Total waste of time to go to those casinos. Unless you just want to have free food and free drinks. Okay. There are two competing boards in the Okada Casino. One is Okada and his group, and the other is another Filipino group. And so, if you're a lessee, alam mo yung casino kasi marami yung may restaurants yan, may nagbebenta ng mga kung ano-ano. Yung mga yan, they're paying rentals. So, kung ikaw yung, halimbawa, yung may-ari ng restaurant dyan sa loob ng Okada Casino, nagre-rent sila sa Okada, hindi nila alam saan sila magbabayad ngayon. They want to pay. Bakit nila gusto magbayad? Miss Villadiego, kahit na mukhang magulo yung management. Bakit nila gusto magbayad? Yeah? Nawala si Miss Villadiego kung kailan ko siya tinawag.
Sir, ano po, para po hindi po matambakan ng utang.
Not only that, very good answer. Not only that, alam niyo naman ng lease contract, may penalties yan, di ba kung malate ka? Kaya kung ikaw ay magaling na business person at maganda naman yung pagpapatakbo mo ng restaurant mo at sapat naman yung nakita nyo para magbayad ng upa, bayaran nyo na kasi kung hindi kung malate kayo at it turns out one or the other party is the real management of the Okada Casino, pag naningil yan sa'yo, maniningil yan not only back rentals but interest. Baka paalisin pa kayo kasi sasabihin niya, 3 buwan ka na hindi nagbabayad, paalisin na kita. Yun ang mahirap doon. So, you have to pay. If you have a restaurant, you're a lessee in the Okada Casino, you have to pay. But to whom do you pay? So that's where consignation is very important. Kung kayo ay accountant na o may business kayo, please remember this. Mag-consignation kayo, pag hindi nyo alam kung kanino kayo dapat magbayad. Kasi pareho silang mukhang may karapatan na mangolekta. So what happens here? Padadala mo ng notice yung dalawa. Okada Management Group number 1, Okada Management Group number 2. Before the Metropolitan Trial Court of Pasay City, I, lessee, instituted a consignation case and I consignated the amount of rent representing payment for the month of October. And you may get payment upon satisfactory compliance with the court's orders. Ganyan. So yung court mag-issue yung order. Walang hearing yan. Walang hearing. You'll just look at the documents and then issue the order. The order will say, Okada Group number 1, Okada Group number 2. Ayusin nyo kung sino mga collector ito and whoever among you prevails is legally recognized as the legitimate manager of Okada Casinos, please get this rental. It's here in court. Please make arrangements with the clerk of court and the cashier to get it. Upon proof that you are the actual manager. Anong gagawin ni Okada Management Group A1 at Management Group 2? Kailangan magpunta sila sa korte at alamin kung alin sa kanila ang tamang management group. Kasi yun lang ang papayagan ng korte kung saan may consignation na mangolekta. Ang problema, yung consignation order may deadline yan. So, alam niyo naman ang kaso sa kung maglalaban pa yung Okada Group A at saka Okada Group 2, B, o Group 1, Group 2, matatagalan sila. In the meantime, nandun sa korte yung pera nila. O baka makalusot pa yung lessee. Kasi if you don't meet, if the creditor does not collect the money consignated in court within the time given by the court, ay forgiven na yon. Ano? Tapos na usapan. Di, kuha ko si lessee. Sasabihin ko ngayon sa chief accountant ng Okada, please issue me a receipt for the rent for October because I consignated the amount, you did not comply, I am considered paid. I'll see you in November. Pag hindi nyo pa naayos yung problema nyo, ng November, I will do the same thing until 6 months ako na nakakalibre sa inyo, mga loko-loko kayo. Yan ang mangyari dyan. Okay, so remember that. Nagpapatawa ako, but this is a real case, by the way. And the two groups of Okada who are fighting for control of the casino have hired the most expensive lawyers in the Philippines, probably including my friends. Yan ang mahirap dito. Nakita niyo aking note? Hassle. Hassle. Do people still say hassle nowadays? It's a hassle. Now, what does the law say? What does the civil code say? You can collect your costs of consignation. Tama lang yun, di ba? Gumastos ka eh. Kaso imagine magbabayad ka ng upa, 10,000 pesos, kuha ka ng abogado. Magkano abogado ngayon? Kahit kumuha ka ng abogadong chipipay, hindi naman siguro 10,000 yun. You know, he has to prepare a petition, he has to follow it up in court. Siyempre may acceptance fee yan. So, even if you're going to pass it on, suppose hindi nga nila kukunin yung pera. Diba? Siyempre, babawas mo yung nagastos mo. Wala na sila makukuha kasi 10,000 pesos lang yung upa eh. Magkano ang pagkuha ng abogado pag-file sa korte? Sasakay ka pa ng Grab para pumunta sa korte. Sasakay pa ng si attorney. Pakakainin pa sa mamonlok si attorney pagkasama mo siya. So, yun ang mahirap doon. This is an example of the Western mentality that is not very practical. You know what I think? When we talk about consignation, tender payment consignation. Halimbawa, ito. Ganun uli, ano? Babayad ka ng upa, ayaw tanggapin yung bayad mo. For whatever reason it is, ayaw tanggapin. Ano? Whether gusto magtaas o mag-init ang ulo or meron silang problema sa bangko, whatever, ayaw tanggapin. Why doesn't the law, why does the civil code amended para payagan na lang kayong mag-consignation sa bangko at sa financial institution, di ba? O sumulat kayo ng cheque, tapos yung cheque bibigay mo sa chief accountant ng binabayaran mo. Walang nakalagay na payee. If you fill up yung payee tsaka yung date, pag tatanggapin nila yung cheque, sabay kayo pupunta sa korte. Ay sa bangko, di ba mas madali yun? Kaysa mag-file ng kaso sa korte. There must be another way that you can make a tender of payment and valid constructive payment. Consignation is constructive payment. What does constructive mean? It's as if you paid. Diba? That's what constructive means. So, I was talking about this with my wife na. Paano yung mga electronic payments, di ba? Halimbawa sa electronic deposits by Grab or electronic payment by bank-to-bank transfer or by remittance agency, Tapos nagka-problema yung laptop o nagka-problema yung account ng tao na binabayaran mo. At hindi na-credit yung binayad mo. Di ba? It happens, di ba? Na-experience nyo na ba yan? Gusto ko lang may kausap kasi parang nag-usap lang sa rin sa Piana. Na-experience mo, have you heard of a similar situation?
Sir, about dun po ba sa electronic?
Yeah, yung mga gano'n, yung nagbayad ka sa GCash tapos hindi naman na-credit, tapos na-text yun, oy, wala naman ako natanggap pa. Tapos papakita mo yung message ng GCash na tanggap mo, meron ka namang pinadala, may hindi niya natanggap, di ba?
Yes po, sir. Naging uso po siya nung parang nakaraan lang, nung parang nauso yung maraming yung maraming parang dugaan dun sa online banking po.
Oo, nangyayari yan. We have to expect that will happen because no electronic system is perfect. And I'm not talking about scams. There's no scam. This is a legitimate transaction between, let's say, Miss Opiana and, let's say, Lazada. Sabihin ng Lazada, Miss Opiana, we're waiting for your payment. Sabihin ng Miss Opiana, ito, pakita ko sa inyo. I paid through GCash. I paid through PayPal. Here, I'll show you a screenshot. Tapos sasabihin ni Lazada, wala, hindi pa namin natanggap. May problema siguro sa sistema. It's not a scam. You know, like any system. I'm sure Lazada, Shopee, so whoever, mga online, or your persons you transact with, syempre nagkakaroon ng problema. Ngayon, kaya ako nabanggit yan, ladies and gentlemen. Ito ang tanong ko, paano natin gagamitin itong proseso ng, can we consider that as a refusal to accept? Diba? Is that a refusal to accept so that we are required to make a valid tender payment and a consignation? Something to think about, diba? Malay nyo, lumabas yan sa midterm exams. They have not thought about that. Diba? I mean, kami mga abogado, yung mga gumagawa ng batas, hindi nila naisip yan. Suppose an electronic transaction does not push through despite the fact that there was valid tender payment. What is that tender payment? Ako, yung may utang, nasa akin yung pera. Binibigay ko na sa iyo. That's a valid tender payment. Ito na yung pera, oh. So it's electronic eh. So hindi mo mapapakita yung pera. Ang mapapakita mo lang yung transaction. Di ba? Nagpunta ka sa 7-Eleven, nagpasok ka ng pera, dapat lalabas yung transaction, lalabas yung pera doon sa kabila. Nagka-problema sa kabila. Is that a refusal? Kung nagka-problema yung kanilang computer, di ba? Or halimbawa nagka-glitch sa internet. Halimbawa, hinak ni Kwan. Hinak ng mga trolls ni, ewan ko sinong politiko yung maraming trolls. Kaya siguro nanalo. Siguro trolls, doon niya lang ikilan yung pera niya sa trolls. Wala akong sinasabi ha. Maraming politiko. Okay. That's something to think about. Nobody thought about that. So, ito ang style dito sa tender payment and consignation. You have to read each of the articles. I only emphasized the two aspects of it. The judicial process and when there are two or more creditors. The others are very self-explanatory. Okay, very, very simple. Just remember this, not only because of the midterm exams, not only because it's part of our lessons, but because it might come in useful later on, ladies and gentlemen, when you're already practicing as accountants or when you have your own business. Or even when you are a family member, tapos nabalitaan mo yung kuya mo, pinsan mo, ganito nangyari. Sabihin mo na kagad para hindi na sila magbabayad ng abogado. Alam mo, kami mga abogado, we are indispensable, but we are also dispensable. Kung ang mga tao kasing aral sa batas tulad nyo, mga estudyante ko sa obligations and contracts, hindi nyo na kailangan maghanap pa na, magbabayad pa kayo abogado, mamimerwisyo pa kayo ng abogado para lang magtanong, di ba? Nandito na yung sagot. Basahin nyo na lang. Pabilis tayo ngayon. We now go to loss of the thing. When the thing is lost, it's a general principle. And it is the prestation. Alam mo yung term na prestation? It is the basis of the transaction. Ito yan, in term na yan. Prestation. A prestation is the agreement between, so there's an agreement between at least two parties to do a certain thing. That certain thing is the prestation. Okay? So the general rule is that when the thing which is subject of prestation, halimbawa, to give a painting, to do a service, not to do something, to pay a certain amount, to go somewhere and do something, that is a prestation if the thing that is supposed to be done gets lost or is destroyed through no fault of the obligee. The entire obligation is considered extinguished. Tapos na. Diba? Halimbawa, I am a painter. Okay? I'm sorry, I do paint, but I don't have an example of my paintings. When I moved offices, I lost track of the things I did. Okay. I'm a painter. And Miss Peñola wants to buy one of my paintings. Sabi ko, marami pang ginagawa, Miss Peñola, ibibigay ko sa iyo next month. Di tapos na isang buwan. So hinanap ni Miss Peñola. Kasi nag-down payment na siya ng kwan Malaki-laking halaga kasi medyo big time akong painter. Ganda yung painting ko So may down payment na. Kaso hindi ko may deliver kasi nasunog yung studio ko. By the way, it happened to a friend of ours who's a famous artist. Sunog yung kanyang studio. Can you imagine how many things were lost? Bali mawalan ka ng kwan, ng ordinary things, appliances. Kasi appliances, those are generic things. Madaling replace. But paintings, documents, letters, school materials, mahirap palitan yan. So when it is a determinate thing, like a painting, and it is lost, tapos na yung obligasyon. Well, of course, I'm duty-bound to return the down payment. So wala naman ako nabigay na service, di ba? I can only collect the entire thing if I give the entire thing. Because it is to give or to do a determinate thing. That is Article 1262 on the loss of the thing. If it's generic, there is the loss of a generic thing does not extinguish the obligation. Kasi like I told you, it's replaceable. Halimbawa, kahit kotse pumunta si Miss Peñola sa Kwan. Maraming pera si Miss Peñola. Pumunta siya sa, kita ka Miss Peñola. Magsalita ka nga para makita kita.
Hello po.
Hindi naman kita makita. Wala kang camera. Kasama mo boyfriend mo, ayaw mo makita ng mga classmates mo. No, I'm just kidding. Yes, Miss Peñola, yan. Gusto ko kayo makita. Mukhang bagong gising ka. Anong gusto mong kotse? Toyota, Hyundai, Kia, Nissan. Sabihin mo lang, there's no real answer. We're just joshing here. We're just giving examples.
Toyota na lang po.
Toyota, punta ka sa Toyota dealership, di ba? Nag-down payment ka. Alam nyo, down payment kayo sa mga sasakyan, parang mababa. Kung bibili ka ng, let's say, alam mo yung Avanza, which is, in my judgment, the only vehicle worth buying brand new. Yung Avanza dati-rate na bibili yan, 600,000 lang. Ngayon, it's 1.1 million. Ano bang nangyari sa ekonomiya natin? Sino bang mga presidente yan? At parang baliwala ng piso ah. So, Espanola has the down payment. Alam niyo, you can buy a 1.1 million peso vehicle. Just down payment ka lang 50,000. Pwede mo nang iuwi. As long as you are cleared for financing. Ang kwento sa akin, ayaw ng mga car companies, yung mga dealerships, ayaw nila ng cash. Ayaw nila yung magbabayad ka on cash, yung babayaran mong buo. Ayaw nila kasi gusto nila sa bangko. Ewan ko bakit, siguro may arrangement sila sa bangko. Anyway, so yung Bispeñola pays 50,000 pesos na clear, na CI, alam mo, credit investigation. Na credit investigation siya, na CI siya, approve naman yung kanyang loan, pwede niya na uwi sa sakyan. So punta na siya. Pagkatapos yung ma-CI, tinawagan siya ng ahente ng Toyota, Marikina, ay Binangonan. Ay, Miss Peñola, punta ka na rito kung ano yung sasakyan. Bago siya makapunta ron, linabas nung ahente, nalabas niya yung sasakyan na bangga, nasira. Is the obligation of Toyota to provide a Toyota car that Miss Peñola paid for? It's paid for because tinanggap nila yung kanyang partial payment. Diba? Hihintayin na lang nila yung installment payments niya per buwan. So it's paid for, basically. Tapos na ba yung obligasyon nila? Miss Peñola?
Hindi po, kasi hindi naman na bigay.
Kasi kung unless special yung in-order mong advance na pintang ginto, tapos lahat ng leather doon ay approved ni Tony Gonzaga mismo. Kahit na gano'n, pwede namang gawin uli di ba? In other words, the loss of a generic thing, which a car is, does not extinguish the obligation because it can always just simply be replaced. So that's very clear, I think. So please look at when you read the articles on loss of the thing, please remember that it refers to Article 1165. So I'm showing you what 1165 says. It is the effect of failure to deliver or delay in delivering a determinate thing. So we're only talking about determinate objects. Bakit importanteng determinate and generic? Because a determinate object is unique. A painting is unique. A writing is unique. Something which is of human construct, which involves human talent, is unique. Or a service provided by a certain person, like let's say a dentist, based on, let's say, a certain set of teeth. Alam mo yung pustiso, hindi naman pwede ibigay sa iba. Yung pustiso, hindi mo binayaran, pwede ba ibigay ng dentista sa ibang tao? Hindi. It's unique to the person's mouth. Diba? So that is a determinate thing. And that the loss of that may extinguish the obligation with the obligation also to pay damages. Kasi nagrabyado yung tao. Why do we talk about fortuitous event? Fortuitous event, a person is exempt from liability or loss due to a fortuitous event, except when he incurs delay or is negligent, di ba? Unless he or she has assumed risk. So, ulit lang tayo ng ulit, parehong principles. But I have to drill this in because I want to make sure you understand why the law keeps mentioning these things. Another example of when the loss of the thing extinguishes an obligation is when the prestation becomes illegal or impossible. So I'll give you 2 examples. Wala to sa libro. I did not check De Leon for this. I used a different book. This is my own example. Physically impossible. Si Putin at si Bobong, they agreed in February 23, 2022. February 23, 2022, please note the date, for the Philippines to buy Russian oil. Murang-mura Russian oil. From February 24, the next day, until February 23 of the next year. Fixed contract yan. For a fixed price. Diba? Why does Bobong want that? Because it means he can buy oil at a cheap price. Kasi in February 23, 2022, what was happening then? Does anybody know you watch the news? Miss Haraza?
Sir,
Anong nangyari? Anong nangyayari noong February 23, 2022?
sir, may war po sa
Wala pa.
Russia.
Wala pa. Nothing was happening on February 23, 2022.
Okay pa.
But on February 24, ano nangyari, Kylie?
Sir, yung mismong nangyari po o dyan po sa ano?
No, yun nangyari sa tunay na buhay. I base this on real life. Although it's not true that Bobong and Putin had a... I'm just giving that as an example of a prestation. Okay? Ano nangyari February 24 na is in world history?
Sir, sorry po, wala po akong idea.
Russia invaded Ukraine.
Oh, okay.
Russia invaded Ukraine on February 24, 2022. What happened after February 24, 2022? Dito sa example ko, hindi na makadeliver ang Russia ng oil dahil lahat ng mga barko, dahil may gera, di ba? Lahat ng mga barko ginamit para to serve the needs of the Russian government. Alam niyo, Russia is the biggest country in the world because it spans from Europe to Asia. From Poland all the way to near Japan and Korea. Ganyan kalaki yung Russia. So they needed all the ships to carry their oil and things like that. Hindi sila makadeliver sa Philippines. So what does that mean? Tapos na yung usapan. Bayad na lang, sasabihin ni Putin, bayad na lang kami ng penalty. Bayad na lang kami. Wala kami magawa. Walang barko. Diba? So it becomes physically impossible. Kylie, ikaw pa rin. Miss Haraza.
Sir.
This is an example now of legally impossible. The same situation. They agreed to buy oil on February 23, 2022. The next day, there was a war. Anong nangyari nung nagkaroon ng gera sa Russia at Ukraine, Miss Haraza? Nabalitaan mo ba?
Sir, tumaas po yung price ng oil.
Oo, yun. Di ba kung sumasakay ka ba ng jeepney, ha?
Apa.
Ano na ang minimum fare sa jeepney ngayon?
11 pesos po.
11 pesos? Magkano dati, bago nung Pebrero? Magkano yan? 8, di ba?
10 po.
10 ba?
Ay, 10 po sa amin. 10, kahit po student.
Okay, hindi ba alam? Medyo hindi ako nag-jeep. Okay, so, tumaas, di ba? Dahil sa presyo ng oil. Pangalawa, nag-embargo ang buong mundo sa Russia. Ilan lang ang kapanig ng Russia na walang embargo? Turkey, China, the usual mga kaalyado ng mga dictatorship. China kasi dictatorship rin, di ba? Kaya best friends nila Russia, kapwa nila dictatorship. Si Putin, dictator yan. I don't know how to categorize him. He wants to revive the Soviet Union. But the Soviet Union was a communist country. I don't know if Putin is still a communist. I don't think he cares about communism. He just cares about power. China is a communist country. But they don't look communist anymore. They look capitalist. Except when they execute people for fighting against the government. Okay. So, in my example, thank you, Ms. Harasa. The embargo ang Russia, so anything produced by Russia cannot be sold or bought in the world market. So even if gusto ng Russia mag-deliver, meron barko, mag-deliver sila ng oil sa atin, tayo naman, meron naman tayong harbor, meron tayong mga tangke, pwede natin ilagay yung oil doon pagka-deliver, it is legally impossible to do so because it is embargoed by government actions. We joined the embargo, by the way. So what happened? What is one of the effects of that embargo against the US, against Russia? Here is a real life example. Nung panahon ewan ko sino yung dating presidente na mura ng mura. Nakalimutan ko na yung pangalan niya kasi ayaw ko maalala eh. Ay! Duterte pa yata. Ito, ano, DU30. Ano ibig sabihin nun? Hindi ko alam eh. During the previous administration, the AFP, the military, had this idea to buy medium helicopters. And ang tingin nila, one of the best medium helicopters was made by Russia. It's called the Mi-17. MI stands for the manufacturer, which is MIL, M-I-L. 17 it's just a number given by NATO. Mi-17 is a designation not given by the Russians. It's given by NATO. It's so that everybody who looks at that helicopter will only refer to it in one name, the NATO name, Mi-17. Parang yung Big 21, mga nakikita nyo sa mga Top Gun, di ba? Kanyan, NATO names lang yan. The Russians do not use this name. Kaso nasanay na sila. Okay. We paid a down payment of 1 billion pesos. 1.5 billion yata, almost 2 billion pesos. Kaso, nagkaroon ng gera February 24, 2022. Embargo. We were supposed to receive the first of those helicopters this year. So the AFP decided, kasi may embargo, ang mangyayari kasi, if you buy a Russian product and it is embargoed, pati kayo may embargo. So if the Philippines violates the embargo, even our goods will be affected. We cannot export sugar. We cannot export the clothes that are made in Taytay. We cannot export rice. We cannot export agricultural products. We cannot export tuna from General Santos City. Oh, patay ang business sa Pilipinas kung hindi tayo maka-export. That is the negative side of an international embargo. So you cannot violate it. So we canceled the order for the Mi-17s. What happens? Miss Marcelino, anong nangyari nung kinancel natin yung order para sa Mi-17 helicopters? Palagay mo. I'm not saying that you should know. Miss Marcelino?
Ano po, hindi na po dapat din talaga mag-expect na maka-receive pa ng helicopter since yung Philippine administration na po yung mismong nag-cancel. And hindi na rin po sila mag-expect na ibalik yung down payment.
Yan ang masakit. Ay, ibigay ng mga Russians yung down payment. 2 billion pesos. Oh, yeah. Malaking pera yun. I mean, laking tulong yun sa mga mahirap, yung mga nagugutom. So by that simple act, the AFP wasted a lot of money kung sana pinag-isipan nila. Ako because I'm interested in military things, although the Mi-17 is a good helicopter, we should have just bought American. Alam mo ang problema kasi sa Russian equipment. Nakita nyo na sa gera ngayon nangyayari sa Ukraine. Konting chismis Nakita nyo nangyayari sa gera. The Russians just abandoned their equipment and their equipment are failing. Ang pangit pala ng equipment nila. Ang sinasabi nila noon, bago February 24, ang sinasabi nila, Russia is the second most powerful military in the world. Second only to the United States. Wala talaga magtalo sa United States. I have friends and relatives who are in the US military. They are very professional. They are very well trained. And they have the best equipment in the world. Mahirap talunin ng Amerikano. But the Russians claim they were second to the Americans. Ibig sabihin, konti lang, ilang tulog lang, ilang hilamos lang ang difference nila. But what did the war in Ukraine prove? Bulok ang mga kasangkapang made in Russia. Parang binibili sa Lazada. Diba? Bumili si Mrs. ng Christmas tablecloth mula sa Lazada. Measure niya pa yung dining table namin. Pinadala niya yung measurement sa Lazada. Pagkarating dito, parang miniskirt, masyado maiksi. Sabi ko, anong gagawin natin dito? Alam niyo gawin, hatiin natin sa gitna, dagdagan na lang ng ibang klase, gold cloth na gano'n, para mukhang, kunwari, magkasama, gano'n talaga yung table. Para lang magkasya kasi ang malaki dining table. Yan ang mahirap sa Lazada. Gano'n rin yung Russian equipment. Russian equipment has proven to be lousy. The Malaysian government, which is also very good government, very good military, they bought Russian fighter jets. Sa awa ng Diyos, hindi nila mapalipad because they could not maintain them. Whenever they broke down, they would ask the Russians for spare parts. The Russians would take months and months. That's madaming excuses para hinihintay yung spare part, tapos hinihintay yung mag-i-install. Very, very sloppy, very, very lousy service. So what did the Malaysians do? They retired the aircraft. Never even got to use it. I mean, they used it, but sayang, bago pa eh. It's better to buy American, wala kang problema dyan. And you can sue in an American court and you'll probably win if there's a problem. So that is an example of legally impossible. Can the Russians supply it? Yes. Are we able to pay for it? Yes, because the DBM already allotted money for that purchase. Hindi lang 2 billion. I think the entire deal was 50 billion. 50 billion pesos. They already allotted money for that. Can the transaction pull through? Hindi pwede because it's legally impossible. Article 1267, if you're following me on your civil code, has to do with compliance, which has become, and I quote the term, manifestly beyond the contemplation of the parties. Ako talaga, I know what this means, what is beyond the contemplation. I know what it means when compliance becomes impossible. The problem is that our civil code used this term manifestly beyond the contemplation of the parties. That's the wording in the civil code. Ito ang problema, ladies and gentlemen. Kaya kami mga abogado, although kami ay indispensable talaga kasi who is going to say that it is manifestly beyond the contemplation of the parties? Is it your lawyer? Is it their lawyer? Is it the Supreme Court? Yun ang mahirap dito. Ibig mong sabihin, magkakaabutan pa kayo sa Supreme Court, a 10-year case, aakyatin yan mula trial court, Court of Appeals, Supreme Court, until the Supreme Court makes a decision, 10 years later, doon mo lang malalaman what is manifestly beyond the contemplation of the parties. Yan ang mahirap dito sa pagsusulat natin sa civil code. Yan ang aking kritisismo. The example given the book I'm using is, alam niyo yung Subic base noon, nung nasa Amerikano pa yon. The Americans had several bases in the Philippines, di ba? They had Subic for the Navy. These are the major bases. They had minor stations like Poro Point, minor lang yon. San Miguel, minor. So the major bases were Subic and Clark. And John Hay, which is in Baguio, di ba? But John Hay is not really a military base. It's a recreational base. We used to go there when I was in high school. We used to go there to play the slot machines. Although bawal, di ba? And play pinball. Kasi that was the only place in Baguio City na mayroong pinball. Alam niyo yung pinball? Wala nang pinball ngayon. We used to play pinball when we were in high school. And of course, look at blonde girls. Which is what high school boys do. Okay. Yung Subic base noon kasi, it's a city within the Philippines. It's independent. The Americans ran it the way they did. Alam mo sa Subic, sa Clark, sa John Hay, doon ka lang makita ng Pilipino na pag sinabing stop, stop talaga. Magdadrive pa Pilipino, stop, stop talaga. Stay in your lane talaga. Kasi pag hindi ka sumunod, darating yung base police. Darating yung base police and you cannot argue with them. You cannot argue with them. They'll throw you out the base. They'll never let you come back. So, Subic, Clark, had their own taxi service. Dollars yan! Remember na kwento ko sa inyo when I took the American Law School admission test. I took it in Clark. Now, I knew that the taxi service in Clark is dollars. So I avoided it. Di ba nakwento ko sa inyo, I arrived in Clark Air Base front gate, at 4 o'clock in the morning. The exam was at 8 o'clock. Kasi alam ko, may proseso pa yan. Hindi ako magta-taxi. So I will have to wait for the service. Yung service ng pupunta doon sa venue kung saan yung exam. Kasi sinabi naman nung nag-administer ng exam, we will send a van for you and the others are taking the exams. So yun, sasakay ako. I had to wait until about 7. So in the meantime, yun nga, nakita ko yung mga prostitute na nakatambay sa labas. Alas 4 ng umaga. I know that because in Janhay, they have the same taxi service. It's called a radio taxi. Wala pang Grab, wala pang Joyride noon. Noon, ang gagawin mo, pag pupunta ka sa Janhay, gusto mong maglaro ng mahjong at social ka, nandoon ka sa gate 1, main gate, tatawag ka ng kwan. Sabihin mo, hey Sarge, let me use your phone. I'm gonna call a taxi cab. Tatawag yan. Hello, base taxi. Yeah, I'd like you to 2 passengers here at the main gate. Okay, we'll send you a taxi there, sir. Yung radyo yan, yung taxi, yung driver, but radyo siya. Naririnig niya, okay, taxi needed at main gate, pupunta siya. The operator of this in this case, the operator was a Filipino. He operated the taxi service. So he needed to buy radio sets. So nakipagkontrata siya sa Japan kasi ang Japan noon, even during that time, tanyag na, providing very good radio equipment at a cheaper price than if he bought it from the Americans. Titipid siya, so bumili siya. Nagka-problema yung pagtanggap ng radio set sa Pilipinas. Kasi syempre may customs ng Pilipinas, may customs ng US. Sa dami ng pag-uusap, ang dinecide ng Filipino na nag-order ng radios para sa kanyang radio taxis ay gamitin niya na lang yung radyo ng mga Amerikano. Libre naman. The Americans offered to let them use the existing radio system for free para lang matapos na usapan. So bumalik sa yung Japan, nag-sue ngayon. Yung Japanese supplier, I think it was Fujitsu, nag-sue. Sabi niya, we're ready to supply. You're ready to pay. Why don't we finish this transaction? But ito sa Supreme Court. The Supreme Court, kasi Filipino yung company, di ba? Hindi naman US. Filipino Supreme Court, the Supreme Court said, that is one of those instances where the service has become so difficult so as to become manifestly beyond the contemplation of the parties. But that is not how Fujitsu felt about it. Unfortunately, di ba? So, ang mahirap sa ganitong wording is who is going to say what is manifestly beyond the contemplation of the parties? Because this particular Supreme Court case shows that Fujitsu didn't think it was beyond the contemplation of the parties. Ang tingin ng Fujitsu, yung mga customs, yung mga bureaucratic issues na yan, mga madaling ayusin yan. Ayusin nyo yan. Nasa American base kayo. Hindi kausapin ng ambassador ng Philippine government. Ayusin nila. Papasukin yung aming radyo. Di ba? My point is, ladies and gentlemen, when we see Article 1267, nakita natin yung phrase, manifestly beyond the contemplation of the parties. Who is going to say that? And who is going to believe that? Siyempre, kung ako yung isang party, ako yung Filipino na bumibili ng radyo, nakahanap nga ako ng murang radyo galing Japan, Fujitsu. Kaso meron naman in-offer yung Amerikano na libre, siyempre doon na lang ako sa libre. Diba? So ang sasabihin ko, ay Fujitsu, I am extinguishing our obligation. Your obligation to supply me with radio sets that are cheap and my obligation to pay you for them kasi ang daming bureaucratic hassle. So much, it's become too difficult. It's manifestly beyond the contemplation of the parties to the obligation. Yun ang palusot ko. Si Fujitsu sabi niya, what the heck are you talking about? There's nothing beyond the contemplation. Everybody has to deal with bureaucracy. Everybody has to deal with the customs. Ayusin niyo yan. Diba? But who did the Supreme Court side with? The Filipino. Yan ang mahirap dito sa ganitong wording. Why do I keep mentioning this? Because I think the law should be made easy to apply para hindi na kayo kailangang umakyat sa Supreme Court. Di ba? Simpleng buhay. I am a lawyer. I love my profession. But we lawyers are overrated. Overrated. The four letters in my name are overrated, is an overrated title. Alam mo ba ang tawag sa amin ngayon ay Juris Doctor? Hindi na kami LLB. LLB stand for Lianum. Baccalaureate Lianum. Bachelors of Law. Hindi na kami Bachelor of Law. Doctor of Law na kami ngayon. By Supreme Court order. We are ordered to use as our degree whenever we show our degree, JD, instead of LLB. But sinasabi ko, anong kalokohan yan? Wala naman nag-iba. I didn't study further. I didn't go to Harvard. I didn't take up additional courses. What does JD mean? Lawyers are important, but not that important. Because if we wrote the laws better, like Article 1267 should be written better, we don't need to go to the Supreme Court to decide things. If it were only clear. Okay, 1268, malapit tayo matapos. Basahin nyo ng example, ano? The proceeds from a criminal offense are still demandable. So, halimbawa, magnanakaw ng hold up ng bahay, kinuha nila yung mga kasangkapan sa loob ng bahay, you can institute a case to compel the robbers to return them. In fact, in the criminal case, kasama na ron ang case to recover the things that have been stolen, and if they have been disposed of, the value thereof. Diba? So that's commonsensical. So next time we will study novation. That's the last portion of our assignment before the midterms. So because novation is a bit more difficult, I implore you, I beg you, I'm on my knees begging you to read. Okay? Para pag nag-usap tayo dito, meron naman tayong konting kalinawan na, hindi na tayo, it's not that I provide the answers only. You already have an inkling of what the answer is. Okay? Help yourselves because I don't want to repeat the prelims. Isa pa yan, anong gagawin ko sa prelims nyo. Okay, so, yung inyong assignment, it's due tomorrow. It was really intended na gawin yung lahat yan. You had 2 weeks to read it and then gagawin yung assignment bukas. So, yung mga nag-submit ngayon, I will allow you to get back your documents and resubmit tomorrow. So, I will only count the assignments which are submitted starting tomorrow, after midnight, and before Monday. Okay? So that to give you time to improve or polish your work. There is no bonus for submitting early. Okay? But there is a penalty for submitting late. So please impress me because really, so far, not very impressed. And it will be difficult for me to justify passing everybody if that is how people are performing. Okay? I will also try to find a way. I don't know kung makaya ko before midterms kasi I'm sure you're also busy with other things. But siguro before the end of the SEM. Alam mo kasi, malapit lang sa amin ang pamantasan ng lungsod ng Marikina. Yung campus nila dito sa Marikina Heights. Sa Concepcion 1 actually. Hindi yan Marikina Heights, Concepcion 1. Concepcion 2. Concepcion 2. Sa barangay namin. It's a very big campus. Face-to-face na sila eh. Hindi ko maintindihan bakit ang URS hindi pa face-to-face. Now, for me, it will be a lot of expense to go face-to-face. But I would like to see the students at least once before the semester ends, okay? So I'll try to arrange that. Of course, we will have to do it in a manner which is safe and which is approved by your school. Okay, because I don't want to get into trouble. So, thank you. I hope you learned something today about consignation and about loss of the thing. That which I did not lecture on means that it is easy to read in your textbook. All you have to do is read it. I don't have to repeat it. Okay, I just added things that I think were insights which are useful and are not in the book. In any book, itong tungkol sa MI-17, hindi nyo yung makikita kahit anong libro. So, goodbye, and I'll expect your projects tomorrow. Please give me more time to finish all of my checking